right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled October meeting of the Haymarket Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
James Carroll.
Here.
Maureen Carroll.
Here.
Matthew Caudell.
Here.
Susan Edwards.
Here.
Madhu.
Here.
Kathy Passanello.
Here.
Steve Shannon.
Here. All right, if we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then during the moment of silence, if we could remember the families of the tragedy in Las Vegas, I would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, so the first item of business here is to look at the minutes and approve them for a regularly scheduled meeting on July 5th. So if we could look those over, please. All right, any questions? It's pretty light meeting that day. All right, do I have a,
Could I just point out number 2 on packet page 4, the reappointment of Maureen Carroll as the Vice Chair of the Planning Commission? I just should note that she was not the Vice Chair.
It was an appointment rather than reappointment.
Page 4,
Page 4, I'm sorry.
number 2, it says the reappointment of Maureen Carroll.
okay, I'm on page 3.
It's over this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and here, mine just says 3. Okay, all right. All right, so we can change that.
Just to appointment.
Yes, sir.
Appointments instead of re.
You were appointed, Steve, the liaison to the ARB.
Correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carroll. Any other items that? All right, do I have a motion that we accept the minutes?
I will make the motion that we accept the minutes with that one change for our months ago, our Wednesday, July 5th Planning Commission meeting. I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay. All right, so I will sign this. But ma'am, you gave me 2 copies of the same thing, correct?
I did.
Okay. All right, very well then. Moving is citizens' time. Seeing no citizens, we will close citizens' time. All right, new business, ma'am, and welcome. So we're talking now about SUP 2017-003 Haymarket Town Center redevelopment final site plan.
Okay. I think it's working. Okay, so we are going to discuss the town center final site plans that came in. They're requesting a waiver for the parking. They're going to be able to add an addition of 8 spaces to the current 53. That brings us up to 61. And the required parking per our zoning ordinance would be 70 spaces. So we looked into the zoning ordinance and the shared parking. The uses currently on the property would, they wouldn't all have peak parking times at the same hours. We have our nightly meetings here. It's kind of the only nightly use. So that would work for the 61 spaces they're recommending. The other daytime uses do not have the competing peak demands. And then the weekend demands would really just be the retail uses at the Copper Cricket and the Berry Thing for her, and occasionally the Realty. So we're recommending that the Planning Commission reviews the shared parking waiver and allows it to go through. It gives us additional parking, it meets our needs, and we're not currently using all of the parking that's out there for us and the other uses. And then we're also able to, in this new plan, put 2 spaces over at the Berry Thing for her. So we're kind of working with them so they have some designated spots for them. We're also looking at the landscaping waivers. They were in the site plans. One of them is the property line that is adjacent to the residential use. Currently, there is a existing fence at that property line, and they need to provide a 20-foot buffer requirement. And so with the existing board fence, they want to add an additional 5-foot landscaping strip, so they're asking for a waiver to reduce the 25-foot to the 5-foot. We feel that this is sufficient screening with the existing fence that's already there. There is no landscaping on our property backing up to it, so the 5-foot landscape strip would significantly kind of increase the screening that's already there and make it aesthetically pleasing and look really nice back there. They're also asking for a waiver with the property line that's adjacent to the B1 zoning. It requires a 10-foot opaque screening. Currently, there is a small landscape strip with some small plants and trees that have been planted here. Parking backs right up to this, so they are asking for a waiver to allow a 5-foot landscape buffer of trees and shrubs instead of the 10-foot buffer. This again will add sufficient screening. There's not much that's currently there, so it'll be an enhancement to the property as it is. And then they're asking for a waiver on the required 8 trees on the front property along Washington Street. When we review this, we asked that the Planning Commission look at the type of tree that is there that they want to put in. They want to put in a London plane tree. It's very similar to an American sycamore, and if you're aware, they drop seed balls down a lot have seed balls. So they want to put 8 along the front of the property. They have the 7 required, and then they've added an 8th on the corner by the realty where there's currently a drive that comes in on the far side. So that would be the 8th tree that they're kind of adding in. So we want to recommend that we look at changing the tree that they're putting in. These trees get very large, 90 to 100 feet in height, and they can have 3 to 4 foot diameters or up to 10. And then the shedding seasonally, I think, would cause some issues with the street, the maintenance, the parking lot. So we should look into potentially a red maple or another approved tree from our zoning ordinance. They also want to plant these trees along the Jefferson Street. They need to plant 8 due to existing conditions with the very thing and entrances that they're going to be putting in on that side of the property. They can only fit 6, and this includes the shared use sidewalk that'll be coming up as well. So they're asking for a waiver to plant the 6 instead of the required 8 on that side. So we recommend that in accordance with our zoning ordinance, these modifications and amendments are allowed. On page 9 of the packet, at the very bottom, there's the staff recommendation. So in accordance with section 58-17-8C, we allow for landscape modification. So upon review and any recommendations that the planning commission has, we would like to get these waived. Are there any questions about the landscaping or parking?
I have a couple. I noticed from the plans into this paper, the number of, I don't have a problem with the total number of 61 parking spaces versus 70, but I just had a question. The number of handicap spaces went down from 4 to 3. Have we assessed whether we need 4? Or is just, I know that's a space issue because handicap spaces take more space. So is there been a need for 4? Is that something we're just changing?
We do not need 4 handicap spaces.
It's probably regulated by the ADA.
Well, that was the question. I know in our buildings, it's regulated by ADA. You have to have so many handicap per non-handicap parking places.
For total space.
Several of our parking spaces are used for our police department vehicles, so we don't need the 4 handicap spaces to meet our ADA requirements and our needs for the property. So that's why we took one down and removed them. There are a couple other changes that we made to the site that we presented to the town council back in, it was a month or so ago. In addition to the reduction of the parking spaces and the addition of the 2 spaces next to a very thing for her, we also were able to make it a 2-way circulation around the building, which is very helpful to emergency vehicles and needs for that. We also made the throat length longer on the Washington Street side and got rid of the front yard parking to increase the area for community gathering and such. Typically, you don't have front yard parking right up to your sidewalk. We did speak to the tenant at Washington Realty who would very much like to have a couple of those spaces reserved there. Upon talking with our engineers regarding the stormwater management requirements, we're not going to be able to put any of those spaces back in. So what you see in that conceptual drawing, can you go to the conceptual drawing, please, is currently the layout that you'll see on the more complicated site plan that shows the longer throat length, more gathering space. Where you see the gray area, originally it was going to be permeable concrete. Right. We've now changed that to permeable asphalt, which is going to be a little bit less expensive, and the drying or curing time of it is going to be quicker as well. And trying to think, the only other change we made was where the the police are going to park their vehicles, which is, in the general vicinity where they do now. We made that a mountable curb to the front of Washington Street parking. In the event of a severe emergency, they could go right over the curb and right onto Washington Street in case the traffic backs up on Jefferson. So that was the other change that we made. Otherwise, the site is very similar to what you saw last year when the Planning Commission gave preliminary approval. So all outside agency comments are being gathered right now, but we didn't want to wait to share these final changes with the Planning Commission to keep the project moving along.
And my second question has to do with the B1 zoning adjacent to R1 zoning that normally requires a 25-foot buffer, and it has a 6-foot board fence, and we're putting in the 5-foot aesthetic shrubbery. Was any attempt made to reach out to the neighbor to ask what they thought of this? It's adjacent to an R1, so was to the person in the R1, was there an attempt to reach out to say, do you like this idea as a substitute to the 25-foot?
So you're talking about our neighbor to the north there on
Yes.
Jefferson Street. Currently, they have, not only do we have the current existing fence, but they have some invasive species, what do you call them, bamboo that is actually coming onto our property. It's just growing and growing and growing. So we already have a ready-made landscaping buffer that already exists because we are an existing site. So we did not speak to them about the additional landscaping that we're putting on our side because you can't even see their property with all this bamboo and the existing fence. So the short answer is no, we didn't reach out, but that was mainly the reason why, was because we have an existing landscaping buffer in place.
I can see that, but I think it's almost a good neighbor thing to reach out. That's,
We certainly can.
that.
Because of bamboo, and that's bad. Bamboo, in our HOA, we just made it taboo to one of our neighbors down there because it will grow. I mean, it grows vertically, then it sprouts, and it's almost impossible to get rid of. So you need some type of buffer that's going to keep that from encroaching this property even more.
We just had to pay our landscaper to remove their bamboo that is continuing to grow on our property.
Yeah, it is not good. I have a question in reference to the trees.
Mm-hmm.
How close are we talking about putting those trees to the sidewalks? So I couldn't really tell by looking at it, and I wasn't sure. And the reason I bring that up is because of the size of that tree, you're going to create problems with the sidewalks eventually.
Absolutely. So
And, yeah, and so, I think we have to be careful what trees we approve to be planted there to make sure that the base, that they don't go horizontally so that it's going to encroach on the sidewalks, because then you're going to have root problems there. I face that every day all over and have to send letters out on that.
Red maples are supposed to be very good and.
And more vertical
Correct.
than
And
surface
the
roots and stuff.
The roots really don't spread out towards things.
Uh-huh.
They go down, which is a good thing, I think.
Yes.
And they also don't try and reach water, so they don't try and wrap around your sewer pipes,
Yeah.
water pipes.
And that's the tree that more and more people are using and everything. So what trees are we actually looking at planting there or recommending?
So, in our zoning ordinance, we have a list of the approved trees.
Are the redwoods in there? Oh, okay.
Red maple.
Or the red maple, I'm sorry. Redwood might be a little bit large for the town even.
So, there's a whole list of what trees are, recommended for planting there. I think any of these could be a good option. We definitely want to look at size, and I can get back with you guys on some sizes, even kind of what the colors would look like as the seasons change. I think that's something we want to keep in mind, because this is like our main corridor. This is what the town
Absolutely.
people are going to see when they come through. So we may also want to keep in mind what trees have been planted at other improvement projects further down the street. if they've planted some down at Sheets, what are they doing? Do we want a consistent avenue of this consistent look of trees? When the seasons change, do we want this nice corridor of colors? So,
Yeah, the trees that are down this way that were planted are not very nice trees, so
Yes.
hopefully we won't go with those. There's
Are
not
there
a lot of shade.
any of them on the Journey Through Hallowed Ground approved
Oh,
list?
that's a good question.
I will have to check that.
Can you
and
check
look
and
at-
see?
They're very, and I'll tell you, I work with them, different folks.
Journey Through Hallowed Ground?
Yes, and because of all the planning that they've done out on 15 in other areas. And they're very cognizant of the root issues and what we're looking for. So,
Now's a good time to talk about the street trees along Washington Street, because we are going to have additional future development. Whether the town wants to have a consistent theme of tree, or if you want a variety of trees. I know we have some crepe myrtles further down, but that doesn't mean, we need to have them all the way down, or if that's something the town would like to see. I do know there's some maintenance challenges with crepe myrtles that you really have to be on top of, but I think it's something for the planning commission to think about now, as the QBE project moves along, and if we redevelop across the street, we're going to, ask for some more trees. So now's the time to decide whether you want a consistent look or not.
I like that idea, personally.
Consistency?
Yeah.
Which idea?
Consistency. I like that idea, consistency, but, and I'm about to plant a crepe myrtle at my house, so I'm very fond of those, but.
I would also like to see some of the Journey Through Hallowed Ground stuff, because
Yes.
they're offering where you can get GIS chips on the trees, and they're dedicated to a soldier from around here that was actually from the war, so if people put their phones over, so that's a nice thing. I mean, the museum's right here.
Yeah.
They will work with you, it's not a charge, they will at least, they work with us, and, I mean, it's a great service.
They told us, when the ARB looked into it, I think it's around $100 a tree, which is
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
That's excellent,
Would
excellent.
you just clarify for me, because I thought I heard you say the American sycamore was not going to be considered then?
Correct. So the tree they recommended is called the London plane tree, and that is a variety of a sycamore tree.
And
So-
you're eliminating that?
Correct. It is allowed in our zoning ordinance right now, so that might be something to consider. Maybe when we decide if we want consistent trees, we have a Main Street tree list that they go off of, and American sycamore can be a tree further back on property lines.
Have you seen what they drop?
Yes.
Those
Yes.
things, and they're actually a danger to bicyclists,
Absolutely.
motorcyclists and everything.
And it would,
Yes, absolutely.
it's a big cleanup process.
Yes, it is.
They also are very allergic for many, many people.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Because of the heavy, heavy pollen that comes in the
Yes.
spring and then again in the fall when the leaves are coming down. Actually, the leaves come down beginning in July and they continue till March.
Yes.
So scratch that one off the list.
Absolutely.
All right, other comments?
Is there any impact that adding, or giving, allowing these waivers would have to anyone else in the town who was looking to create a buffer or to add trees or subtract trees or anything like that? Are we setting a precedent that, let's throw out the need for any type of a buffer if we're going to just simply throw out or have waivers
Right.
each time a situation
And a couple of
arises?
homes come to mind. Right up here, our friend that came in here complaining he didn't know, I forgot the gentleman's name. His home is right behind the property that's commercial, and that was one of his big concerns, is what type of buffer are they going to have there. So I think we just have to be careful about setting a precedent. But, I mean, I think that's a good point that you brought. So.
Especially because it's the town. Oh, yes, the town can get a waiver from the policies which the town is setting in motion.
Is it a
But you
precedent
can't
or an
go.
exception? That's
Well-
really the question.
Per our zoning ordinance, we do allow for alternative screens and modifications as long as we decide and the planning commission approves them and says that they've met the screen objectives, that they're going to be opaque, they'll be transparent according to what we require. So it is allowed. We have,
I was just going to add that sometimes when you have an existing site and the only changes you're making are really to improve the site, which is what we're doing, that, you know, the existing, like we already talked about with the bamboo, you can't even see through it. We've already got existing vegetation that you can't see through part of it over here on this side. You know, all we're doing is actually dressing up our site. And if there's an opportunity to meet the requirement, then absolutely. But I think the higher priority is to make sure we do have adequate parking and circulation. And as far as the parking goes, I think waiver is almost the wrong term. We want to encourage shared parking where it makes sense in our community, so we have less asphalt and more common space and gathering space for pedestrians. And I think that the town could actually set an example of how our shared parking provisions could actually work. So I know we have that term waiver, but it's really more of is there a better way to do it that meets the needs of our parking, but also meets the needs of, in general, the community. So that's some of staff's thoughts behind that.
Let me ask a question on the parking, because I'm thinking down the road. You know they're going to have the parking right on the other side of 66. Will there be any type of restricted parking here? Because they're looking at different things to include charging people to park over there. And if that happens, then folks are going to try to find places like the grocery store and places that they can park free. Will there be any type of parking restrictions here? No carpooling or anything like that? And this is further down the road, but I'm just thinking, I'd hate for this to turn into a park and ride. And with that many parking places, I'm all for it. But I would have a concern there.
You know, I think it's just a policing effort. We're going to know the vehicles that are
Sure.
that are in our lot and those coming and going. Those that are here all the time, like staff, you know, we can certainly have, you know, some sort of, you know, decal or sticker. And
Well, there can be
just keep track
signs.
of
There
it.
can be signs put up,
Yeah,
you know, out there.
yes, I would suggest policing it before we start putting up extra signs.
And this is a couple of years down the road, because that ain't going to happen, because there's a lot of issues there. But I'm just
we're
trying to
small
think.
enough. We know what's going on.
Plus, you have to remember that, I know it's across the street, but we also have the museum over here as
Yeah.
well.
People can use,
Which has
absolutely.
very limited open hours.
I like the additional parking, though. That's great.
Any other comments? Only comment I have is from a driver's ed perspective. Being near an intersection, the sight lines of being able to see for like right turn on reds, things of that nature. Has any consideration been given to not only the type of tree, but what the visibility in and around the trees would be? In other words,
Side distance
if
issues.
we put so many close together, are we creating a potential hazard? Because 50% of all traffic accidents occur at intersections. So I think that's something we may want to look at. Would it be wiser to put 4 trees as opposed to 7, just because this is the busiest intersection outside the one that's just down here. I mean, this intersection moves a ton of traffic.
Well, I think another way you can remedy that too is to make sure that the trees are maintained and pruned and
Sure.
shaped to grow so they don't.
The
It's
low
easier to-
canopy's got to be higher.
It's
Yes,
easier to
yes.
maintain something that already is conducive to maintenance as
Oh,
opposed
absolutely,
to.
absolutely.
So just something to consider.
So when I get back to you guys with some recommended trees, I'll take that into account and kind of come up with some of the maintenance, how they're going to grow long-term, the site around, and give that as a recommendation.
right? Because you go in these townhomes, and even where we live, you know, the trees are starting to push up sidewalks. You can't even see the front of homes. Why? You know, it looks good to put in an inexpensive tree. What's it going to look like 15 years down the road? So that would be all I have. Good questions. Any other questions? So what you're looking for in the staff recommendation is approval on packet page 10. You're looking for the approval of the parking and landscaping waivers as a modification amendments that comply with zoning ordinance 58-6.1A, section 58-6.1B, and section 58-17.8. And it's my understanding that that's what you're seeking tonight, and then the final approval of the site plan will be after all the outside agencies have submitted their comments, correct?
Correct.
So do we have actual wording of action that we need to take tonight? Normally, we have
The last thing.
the language that you're looking for. I mean, I'm sure it's something that could be drafted up very quickly, but
Why don't we maybe ask the planning commission for a general consensus of what we've, what
Okay.
we've talked about tonight, and then do the final motion of approving the site plan at the next meeting with the comments,
I'm
just in
fine.
case there's any other edits that need to be made.
right, I'm fine with that.
We don't anticipate any major changes because we've been kind of working with the groups, the organizations already. But then you could finalize the trees. We're hearing some deciduous, like maples, something like that. Or I guess I want to make sure that Emily's got the proper guidance on what you're leaning toward for these street trees.
I thought the maple was great. I also love the idea of the Journey Through Hollow Ground with the
And
ships
checking
on
into
them.
that. Okay, so we'll check into that and get back.
Yeah, because that would be good. We could extend that to the museum and have something historical about those people in the museum as well.
Oh,
It would be,
And down at the park, too.
And they will make recommendations. Again, they're aware of what concerns are, of where you plant trees, whether they're close to streets, sidewalks, homes, or they're very cognizant of the issues that people, of the concerns. So talking with them and even their recommendation would be nice.
Okay.
So,
They're very helpful. We've dealt with them in the ARB, and they're
yeah.
All right, let's move along. I think we've given them good guidance on the trees.
Thank you.
So let's just go around and we'll start over here. And, do you agree with what we're talking about to give them general guidance?
Looks nice. I'm agree with whatever town and RDA doing, and looks great.
Okay. Ma'am?
I'm very happy for the added green space. I think that's wonderful. I can see us doing a holiday lighting of a tree and, something really nice like that. I think eventually we'd like to add bike racks and maybe benches that people could sit on. I can see that happening. I love the two-way. The one-way really bothered me. The two-way, I think, is much more business-friendly. And now that we have the right turn lane from Jefferson Street onto Washington, we won't have all those people trying to cut through, the way that they have.
hopefully.
Hopefully, yes, hopefully. Right, maybe a speed bump in the back somewhere.
I'm good with that. I want it to be done. I've been working on this for a long time with the council and everything, so.
But I think the Copper Cricket will enjoy the two-way. They do.
Yes.
They do.
I love the idea of a green, even if it's a mini green. I love the green space. I definitely second the bike racks. I think we're a walking town, a biking town, and as a biker, I think that's a great idea.
Who wants his bikers?
There's
What she said.
There's a magazine on my desk right now where Debbie has grabbed some. Is it you, Debbie? Yeah, we realized we don't know where there's a bike rack in town, so we would like to get one like right now.
There is one.
There is. Where is it?
Green Hill Crossing.
Oh, great. So if afterwards, if you have any suggestions as to, we'd really like to get one now, and place it.
We used to have one at the museum.
I don't remember when.
I would second that.
I'd like it. I'm absolutely for it. I think there's been a lot of due diligence on that. I'm anxious to see what the final landscaping recommendation would be coming in for approval. So it definitely has my support.
And I concur with my fellow commissioners, so let's move on, okay?
Could I, just one more comment, though. Though I saw you had someplace here, the various architect drawings that were available on Haymarket Day out front. And I was at the Haymarket table for a lot of hours that particular day and heard nothing but very positive comments from person after person after
Oh, yeah.
person. Regardless of which of the three, I think there were three. And sometimes they, got knocked or changed and stuff like that. But people came out and said, oh, this is really nice.
Well,
This
there is an
really
approved.
nice."
There is a one.
Yes, there is one.
I thought they were all the same,
No.
just different, no?
Variations.
The
Yeah.
facade, the front is just slightly different, yeah. So there
Okay.
was one
Probably to
approved
the-
one.
The ARB would know the difference, but no.
Okay,
I'm sure the ARB
People
knows
coming
the
from the
difference.
parade they didn't know the difference either.
Very slight, but
All right, well, thank you. Let's move on. Old business, do we have any old business? If it is, it's really old because we haven't met in 3 months.
It's been too long.
My old business is that we still have some sort of a walking tour we plan for the future. I love the idea. I don't know when we can do it. I know it's hard to schedule it with everyone, but I thought the idea was terrific.
I don't know why we couldn't do it before the next one. We're still talking November. We can all throw in sweatshirts. I think it would be wise, especially since we told the neighbors in my community we were going to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we should do.
what is it?
When's
It's
it?
a walking tour to walk up there and look at the traffic impact. I mean, the project's already been approved, but the cut-through, which is more of a ingress-egress than a road. And,
Oh, for the QBE?
For the QBE, and I just think in general it'd be good to walk
It
up
went
there.
beyond that, though. It was really to walk the town.
Right, and
In-
crosswalks, and
Crosswalks.
say,
Yes.
where would you like to see this, that, or another thing?
it was all encompassing, but the primary focus was up there because that's still the area that's going to be most developed.
Yeah.
But yeah, to walk the whole town.
When's the change of time, Matt? Is that in, I know it's in November. I think we
I
should do
got
it
it in-
before.
I thought it was,
The first Sunday in November.
The first
Yeah.
Sunday in November, so that's something.
So our next meeting.
Is it the first or the
It's the
8th?
first.
It's the
would be
first.
November
first.
1st.
Okay.
So could
The
we,
night after Halloween.
Daylight savings is the other 5th, so.
could we all plan on meeting at 5:30? That gives us an hour and a half. We could come here, we could open, and that would just be part of our, is that all right? Does that work for you all?
Works for me.
So what time, Matt, you think?
Let's do 5:30,
5:30, okay.
and we'll meet here, we'll open, and then we'll all just start walking.
And then after that walk, you might have some more guidance or inputs or thoughts around the conversation of the street trees along Washington,
yes.
and that'll help us guide, the future landscape plans.
On the first.
I mean, we did that before with the signs with the town council, and it was very helpful. I think we were all, a lot of us,
We did with the Harrow.
right, we've done it, we went in. I think it's always good to, it's one thing to see it on a piece of paper, it's another thing to walk it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do that. That's a great point, Ms. Carroll. All right, town council update.
We've been working very hard on getting this project moving. Kimberly's been really trying to get this nailed down so we can move forward and get this done. Trying to think what else. Go ahead. No, she wants to say something.
At the town council meeting next week, we're going to put forth the resolution to support a funding plan for the project to get it done, and direction of what the council is going to recommend moving forward with. We think to complete the entire project as envisioned may be a little more than what we can afford right now in this fiscal year. So we might end up amending or adjusting the site plan and the landscaping and doing the front of the site with the monies that we will likely have, and doing all of the building work, the skinning, so to speak, and the interior renovations here, and maybe postponing the elevator for the short term in order to get, the bulk of the project, 2/3 of it
So
done.
phasing it a little
Yeah,
bit.
phasing it.
So
So,
basically paying cash as we go.
no, we are still planning to go for a general obligation bond. So we are going to put forth a resolution to the councilors to move forward with that. And there'll be some cash out of reserves. So right now, we may come back to you with a sort of revised plan of this is what we're going to do for the site plan to next year, and then finish the stormwater work at a later date. But our priority is to get the front done, the landscaping, the parking, the visual, and finish up the stormwater work later. And that's what we're going to put forth next week.
Is this something that will increase taxes? If that's the case, would we not have a referendum for townspeople?
We do not need a referendum. We are not increasing taxes to do this. We have budgeted the money that we need to for next year. We need to find a little bit of money, but with the current trends, we feel that we're going to be able to find what we need.
What do you anticipate the total cost is going to be?
I think I had it in the town council memo from from the work session meeting, so we can get you a copy of that. But for planning purposes, we were estimating a little more than $3 million to do the entire thing for planning purposes. Of course, that may be different than what the construction bids come in at, but just to try to plan. So we're looking at possibly bonding for $2 million, and plus a little bit out of reserves to cover some things.
So that wouldn't be a taxpayer's vote to do that?
No,
No.
it doesn't.
Is there federal government, local government, state government does fund for the town? Any
Yes.
resources we can get?
Are applying for VDOT revenue sharing program through Prince William County. That application is due November 1st. If we get funded for that, it would pay for 50% of the new sidewalk and the roadway work. So we are hoping that's funded. We don't know the exact dollar amount. And then the other program that we're putting forth to the council next week is the other VDOT program. It's a transportation kind of improvement fund for helping to fix the sidewalks, the broken bricks, and curbing and things like that you will see on your
Crosswalks, all
walk.
those things.
You will see on your walk, and that is an 80-20 match. It's the same funds that are also being, I think, used for the Jefferson Street project. So we are going to also bring forth that to the council on Tuesday. And we will only ask for what we have as a match, so to speak, in our budget. This is the first fiscal year that we got some monies appropriated for fixing some of our infrastructure. It's about $35,000. It's a very small amount, but it helps us get started. So if this supplements it, then that'll be great to get done in the next 2 years. So.
The only other question I have is the sheets. How is that going? Because that's a big.
They're on
They're
schedule.
cooking.
I know they are on schedule. They are working hard to stay on schedule. The
Because I
pumps
know
will be down a
gas
little
pumps
longer.
are very important to the community. 'Cause
Oh, my
right
gosh,
now
yes.
They have to go out of
Isn't
the
it the
community.
15th of November for the gas pumps, I think?
I remember it was about an 8-week period. That sounds about
I
right.
think they had told me that, in fact, the chief had called me about can they place the sign down there in our right-of-way to let them know that Sheetz is open, because business was really hurting, but the majority of people go there for gas. But authorize him to put the sign saying sheets open. And hopefully that helped him out, I don't know, but.
Yeah, we're hopefully gonna maybe see if we can look into an alternative down the road shortly, like a larger banner. I guess the banner that they're using now wasn't working, or folks are gonna start getting used to it, because
Yeah, the
we
word
really
will
should think
get
about
out.
taking that down. Because other businesses aren't allowed to use those big signs, so we wanna be sure that we're.
No, they're not, and I made an exception to that.
I know it's a
Because,
safety
because it's a
issue.
construction, because of construction. That's the only reason that I
Yeah.
approved that.
Correct. We wanted to help them out on the basis of a safety issue when people were
Yeah.
at the intersection and trying to figure out, now where do I go? And that was the justification for it, of course.
All right, anything else? All right, ARB, sir.
Yes, sir, there were a couple things. It was a quick meeting, I think, 25-minute meeting. Nice meeting.
Was it?
It was quick.
Okay, I'm not coming to the next one then. 'Cause obviously, it's because I'm not there.
No, we were waiting on you. That's
That
why,
never happens.
otherwise it'd have taken
That
20
never
minutes, but we
happens.
waited 5 extra minutes. There were a couple of things, and I'm terrible at the young lady's name that's on, but she brought up a couple things.
Bond.
Vaughn?
Bond.
Bond, yeah. She brought up the fence along,
You know what we're talking
beside
about.
CVS and everything, and.
The deer fence.
Yeah,
I call
and
it.
that fence is there. I explained to her, and I went back to Tina and folks and said, that fence is there. It's more for pedestrians than it is animals, to keep pedestrians from crossing in the middle of the roads, heading behind, cutting through and everything. But that fence is what VDOT put up. They're not putting anything else up. If the town, Bond brought up, wrought iron, the town would have to pay for that. That was one issue. The other issue is, and I've been working with Emily and him about the signs, the welcome signs. In Leesburg, you go into Leesburg, welcome to Leesburg and everything. And we were talking about those. And it's amazing because I went to the people who put up our signs around here for the Haymarket corporate, and everything. And one office said they don't think it's ours. Another office says, yes, it is, because we did put those up. So we're working. I've got you in touch with, is that Ron Supton? So we can try to come up with something that looks nice.
We have been working on that at the ARB. We've had
Okay.
several, before you came on, several work sessions trying to pin down the design. The holdup was we were waiting for the interchange to be done because you don't want to
Yeah.
put them, then have to move them and all that kind of stuff. So
We forwarded, Art Kloss, our permits manager, we forwarded the entire briefing that's been used from a couple years back. Right, Emily, you've got that. And it was the briefing that was used to show the various signs and stuff like that, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right, right.
So I'll, from the VDOT perspective, I'll make sure that gets pushed along and
That'd be
to
great,
do the right
yeah.
thing. I like that idea. I like those signs also. ARB wise, that was the two issues that we really discussed.
Any questions, the ARB?
Sign in trans on the 15, and that's both sides, or just only one side?
four. It's this end, that
55,
end, and then
15.
Okay,
This
in
way.
trans for the town of Haymarket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, some kind of nice sign, welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be
Established.
expensive. Just make a nice one.
Yeah.
I think
The
that's.
only other sign I think, excuse me, the only other sign I think needs updating is the sign about Haymarket Park coming soon.
Yeah.
I think that gives a false sense of advertisement because it's not coming soon.
Everybody asks me, so when
And
is
I'm
it
getting
happening?
people saying, well, what's coming soon? I think we should scrub coming soon and just,
If you look
Leave
at
it
the
concerned.
Future
look at
site-
the email
future site
last
up
time,
or
the
whatever.
one gentleman did
Right.
email it to us,
Yeah.
and we moved the Haymarket for the park, and I bought a house right behind the park. There's no park, and when it will finish, there is
There
no
is a
answer.
park, though.
Well, yeah, I
There's
mean,
a park now.
but when they're coming soon with everything that's on the plans, the funds have basically come to, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they're coming here first, so that project will eventually be completed, but it's in the future, I mean, we've made tremendous improvement, but I just think it's not intentional, but we need to revisit that sign, because it says something that we're not really doing.
We'll pass that along. How's that?
Sounds good. All right,
I
moving
can't
on.
promise anything, but I'll pass along the information.
It's always better to say I'm sorry than ask permission, right? All right, moving on, town planner update. The dog stay out update. Ma'am, if you would brief us on that, please.
Yes, so I gave you a 2-page little handout that was on top of your packet. So Dog Stay Out was approved as a dog beauty salon. However, their use is more in line with a kennel. So we want to address this issue. We have spoken with them about coming in and doing a zoning text amendment, so we kind of want to brief you guys and get your opinion, ask any questions, concerns you have for this. So we'll start off. They want to have an apartment on the first floor for a resident to stay here, not necessarily associated with business. And in the previous zoning ordinance, the apartment.
For the doggy daycare, they want to have apartment?
Yeah, but that,
Caretaker.
That was
It's
for
for
the
somebody
Oh,
that's going to
caretaker,
be there
okay.
through the night.
I was
Is
kind
what they
of,
told us before.
Wait a minute.
That is what was told before to, I believe, other planners. However, that was not what I was told when I came on board by the applicants. I was told that a different resident would be staying here who would not necessarily have anything to do with the operations of the business.
That never came up.
they never came up that. Okay.
They talked about having, because we talked about them keeping dogs overnight, boarding, but that they would have an area there. They obviously, in fact, I think she made a comment, maybe some college people or whatever, that would be staying there overnight to take care of the dogs, but not a resident.
You're right.
That
So-
was never discussed.
I think
recall.
that was also the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
That was going to be something that would happen because we couldn't get our dog picked up or whatever.
Okay. So that is something that I will clarify with the applicant, what their plan is for this apartment. Under the old zoning ordinance, the use was allowed on a second floor of a B1 building. And as long as it was not more than 40% of the gross floor area of the structure. In our current zoning ordinance, it is allowed an accessory apartment. However, our definition only allows the accessory apartment in a residential area. So the accessory apartment would have to be attached to a residential dwelling with the owner of that dwelling occupying the main home, and then the accessory apartment would only have up to one family or 3 persons in it, according to our definition. So some of the options that we kind of wanted to review were, we can restore the previous zoning ordinance, which is what the applicant requested we do. However, if we do this, it is still not going to comply because it's a first floor apartment, and that was previously a second floor use. The other option, we can change the accessory apartment definition to include this use in the B1 district. However, we need to understand that that would then mean a restaurant could have a first floor apartment, an office building, any building in the commercial district would then be permitted to have this accessory apartment if we do that definition. So if we make this change, we really need to look at what we want to see in the future in the B1 district, how we can limit it. Should we put in writing that the accessory use is for, staff personnel to look after the animals? So we need to make that connection if that's the route we want to take. So that is the apartment issue. I'll pause there. Are there any questions, major concerns, things you want me to look into for this? I have provided in the back as kind of an appendix some local jurisdictions, how they approach this. There are other dog stay out businesses in Alexandria and Fairfax County as well, and they do not allow apartments in these areas. They are all in industrial zoned areas as a kennel or a animal care facility, and in the areas that they are a animal care facility, there is no kennel definition. It is all one and the same. So that is there for your review.
I have a major concern that was never discussed before this. When they came and met with us,
was for the caretaker.
that is totally new. I'm not saying I'm opposed to, to voting yay for it, but I'm just saying that was never discussed that I recall at all. And I've talked to them at Haymarket Day and other times when I run into, I think it's Andrea, I think is her name. That has never been discussed.
They've been in here we've been working on this for probably 2 years.
We want to move this faster, but now they are bringing something different, and it will be
So really,
issue a little bit in there.
really, in this, and they're basically running two businesses in one, is really what they're doing. They're running a they're running an apartment, a residential rental unit, plus their dog business.
Yes.
In my opinion, they want their cake and eat it too. They wanted it rezoned so they could have their this, and now they want it to go back the other way
Yes.
so they can have their apartment.
Both.
And that's a no-go.
No.
I think it's a slippery slope. We're a very small town. We have businesses and residential right up on top of each other.
I
I
think we'd be
have been
setting a
against
bad
this from the
precedent.
very beginning.
I'm
And this
just-
is exactly.
I just have a question that is just a theoretical question. It's not a statement where I fall at all. I'm just dealing with the first and second floor apartment. The old zoning ordinance allowed second floor, and I'm saying to myself, why did it prefer second floor over first floor? That's really what I'm wondering.
Because it's in the business district, and you don't want your residential units on your first floors in your business district. That's where you want your commercial. Your retail, your restaurants,
Like
that
over
sort of
here
thing.
where the florist and everybody is over
Yeah,
here,
right.
and
You
then
have
you have your
apartments above,
apartments up
you've got a
top.
mixed
That's
use.
the design
Yeah.
for the.
The mixed-use design favors the second floor. That
Correct.
was just a theoretical
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the reason.
I was shocked when I read this before
Yes.
we came,
This is
because
just
it was a new scenario.
I was not.
You're privy to
So-
more than what we're privy to, though, obviously.
Just had a feeling.
But I think Emily's right in just pausing for a moment and let her explain the next part, and then you can kind of see how it, kind of see the whole picture, and then you might have some additional thoughts or guidance.
Okay.
So the other issue that we have, which you would have read in their letter and Steve's follow-up letter, is that they came in and they pitched the idea this is a doggy daycare. Daycare is associated with a short-term daytime service that ends at night. As children are picked up, the dogs would be picked up at the end of the business day. However, they are now saying they're a 24/7 business, 365 days a year, and they provide boarding services. So Steve recommended that this is a kennel use, and this falls under our kennel definition, which it does. In the letter, I believe there might have been some confusion on the applicant's part of our definition of kennel that maybe needs to be discussed a little further with her, that it does fall under kennel. So she would like for us to add doggy daycare to our zoning ordinance. She cited Wikipedia that there is this use. However, looking in the local jurisdictions and where the other dog stay businesses are, they are all a kennel. They're all industrial zoned areas. So to approach this,
So the issue is because they are in an industrial area.
so the issue is more they want to be able to allow the dogs to stay at night and have that full boarding, and they're not in the industrial area. So the noise, the smells, the coming and going of patrons starts to become an issue because it is in this commercial area. And we also need to keep in mind they're going to share a property line with a residential use, and then they have Giuseppe's, another commercial use on the other side. So I looked into the surrounding areas. It is also in the appendix. I kind of made a recommendation that as one approach we could take, we can add dog daycare to the personal services that are provided. Currently, dog grooming falls under this. This is how they got their site through. However, if we do this, which is recommended by the applicant, this is what she has asked us to do, this does not allow for boarding. It only allows for the short-term dog daycare per her definition that she wrote in the letter. So we need to discuss that even if we do a dog daycare, that's still short-term. It ends at the end of the business hours. The other option that we could take is let them know that their use they want to do with boarding, that is a kennel, and that is not allowed. We did not allow that as a special use in our old ordinance, and it is not allowed as a special use in our current ordinance. So we would have to make an amendment to allow kennels as special use and in the B1 district. So just some things to think about. They would need to apply for a special use permit if we put kennel in. And this would then allow other businesses who come in B1 who want to open a kennel to do so under a special use permit. So I think at this point we need to think about what do we see as some priorities for our B1 district? Do we want to allow additional kennels? Not to say that we're going to end up with 5, but it is a possibility that more will come in if we take this approach.
So at the animal hospital, they have boarding overnight, and they're in
So they fall under the animal hospital clinic, and their main service is not to board animals, it's to take care of the animals if they're sick, injured, and so that falls under the other definition.
Like a medical.
Yes, which is allowed.
right, but they
in
have
that
animals
use.
overnight.
Right.
If I remember correctly, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, there was some discussion about keeping some dogs overnight, but it was on a very limited basis for people who were traveling and
You are
couldn't
correct.
get back.
Yes.
It was never intended in any of our discussions
full
where it's a
boarding.
full-blown
No.
kennel, if you will, where...
That was how it was presented, yes.
So somewhere there's a disconnect between the presenting and what we've currently approved, and it's almost like now we got part of it, now we're going to go for the full. I'm not saying that is, but that's the appearance.
There's also the number of dogs. I remember at one point asking, and there were 50 dogs or more
Right.
per day, if I
20
remember.
75 up to 75.
Yes, up to 75. If you're keeping that many dogs, I don't know how many would be overnight. But then you come to the noise, the smell, the traffic issues, which is, they're critical issues.
And that neighborhood already has restricted streets, plus they're right up against that residential. I wouldn't want 75 dogs up against my house
One thing to
overnight.
add, in some of the other cases where a dog stay out is located, Alexandria, Fairfax County, they have a few more restrictions on what they allow in these areas, so I can get some more information and present that to you guys on the animal care facility definitions and the kennel. But I believe in some of those locations, they restrict the outdoor use. And they recommend that everything is enclosed in a soundproof building for that use.
Which they promised us
They-
they would.
That's the engineer, and they came and they said that a soundproof
Yeah.
building will be there.
We visited their facility
Yes.
up in Ashburn,
In Loudon,
Okay.
yeah.
and there was silence.
Well, it was also in an industrial area.
It was an industrial area, but when we were inside the
baffling-
building,
the baffling
you could
thing
not
happened
hear
there.
the dogs unless they turned on their television sound.
Yeah.
But we did allow dogs to be outside at this one, and
Yes.
are talking.
Yes. Yes.
They are going to be outside, so this is already a different
Oh, yeah.
category.
Those dogs never went outside.
The boarding
My dog
overnight
didn't go
was
outside.
an exception to the rule, and it was a couple in case somebody's traveling or whatever.
That was it.
My opinion is, and it coming in now with almost a full-blown boarding and the apartment was never discussed.
That's a whole difference.
Yes.
So I'm not in favor of supporting that, just with what I know now. I mean, they have to come and plead their case, but
Yes, we like to love to have a business in the town, or not that kind of, approving different and approaching different, and, okay, I did this, and I did get approved, and now I do this, I will get approved, and something comes to tomorrow. So we have to look into that.
we just have to be careful
Every
about making
business has
exceptions.
its appropriate place.
Well, I mean, staff is bringing this to you tonight because, you know, they've gotten this far. We certainly want to see if there's any avenues to, you know, allow them to continue to move forward with the work that they've been planning for so long. One of the things that we discussed moving forward, which I didn't realize wasn't happening, is that each time we get an application like this, site plan application, or, you know, business comes in, we need to have in writing a very firm narrative that very clearly articulates exactly what they're doing, what their plans are, you know, everything that they have planned to do, so that the zoning administrator can evaluate methodically exactly what the use is and move it through the permitting process, so that we don't get to this place where, you know, there's some, you know, either, you know, the business plan model gets changed, or, you know, the zoning gets changed, or, you know, whatever, so that it's very clear.
A couple
Very
instances.
clear, yes. I had sat down with them several months ago and said, this is a kennel, and this needs to be changed on the site plan. And this was before the zoning ordinance changed. At that point in time, kennels were still permitted use, or, you know, an allowed use. And I encouraged them to put on their site plan expansion of their site, so that down the road, when they became a non-conforming use, when it was taken out of B1, they could still continue their business as planned. They chose to move forward with the personal service and the grooming establishment, and felt that they were definitely not going to, you know, meet that definition and move forward. So, you know, now we are where we are. So we certainly want to present this to you and get your guidance, and then meet with them to see.
Because they want to break, she told me they're breaking the ground next month, in November.
Right now, what they are permitted to do is to be a personal services establishment, which includes grooming and caring for your pet, washing, nails, that sort of thing.
And that was their pitch to us,
Daycare, like a child's daycare, analogous to that.
so, okay.
All right, so those are the two points, the apartment and the kennel. So I think, well, we'll just go around. Let's just go around once, and let's just speak to both, because this is just directing the staff. So we'll start.
I'm not in favor of either. I'm not in favor of either. The board kennel, boarding, or the apartment.
Okay. Mr. Carroll?
I agree with Steve.
Mrs. Carroll?
Initially, when they asked about an apartment, it was, I understand it as for a caretaker, and then they would have to meet the zoning regulations, which would be second floor for a caretaker, if that was the use. So I would be okay with that, because I think we had a discussion about that, and we okayed that, as I remember it. I think a dog's day out is a day out, and that's a beauty parlor, and that's daycare. I don't think most people think about leaving their children, if you're going to use the analogy of a child, overnight.
Except my grandkids.
That's why it's called,
Those are called grandparents' houses.
yes. Well, ADDO, a dog's day out. So I see it as a day structure, a beauty daycare for dogs. I don't see it as a kennel.
Mrs. Edwards?
I do not agree with either.
I'm a little disappointed. I don't agree with either. I think their original plan that they brought before us, as Maureen said, was different than what I'm seeing here.
When I see this plan brought now, I'm kind of surprised. We have, we want to push a little quicker. Now they're bringing something else. I'm not agree with it. None of both of those.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of either, and I think we need to ask them to come back in and just go at it again to make sure we do it right.
Can I ask a question, Matt?
Yes.
How does this affect the site plan? And the use and all of those approvals and everything?
So they're permitted right now, the site plan is approved, they are permitted as the personal service establishment and what our definition entails.
Okay.
And nothing
That's
else.
currently
But
what they're
excluding the
allowed.
two that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Even
So-
though the apartments in
So they are
violation.
allowed to do whatever the permitted uses are allowed in that district right now.
Okay.
So in order to do some of the other things we talked about would require changes to the zoning ordinance if the planning commission and the town council wanted to move in that direction. So we wanted to get your kind of feedback tonight to be able to go back and share with them, okay, just to, general direction of what the town may be in favor of so that we can see what we can do.
And I think the zoning ordinance to convey to them, that took us the better part of 2 years to redo the zoning ordinance. So if we were to go back and look at that, maybe breaking ground in November of 2019.
But you can't have both both things that you want. I mean, they wanted it rezoned, and now they want to go back the other way so they can have an apartment. It's not how it works.
So if they want to move forward with, say, just the daycare no apartment, and we feel like, that might be favorable, then we can look at amending one of the definitions to be able to, accommodate that. We have some other text amendments, cleanup, so to speak, housekeeping, that Steve has been keeping sort of a master list that Emily's going to bring forth that we can quickly kind of tick off, and bring to you, and then move forward so that we can just get some cleanup done. And we could certainly add this to it to speed up the process. But if they want to move forward with something a little more complicated that may have much more discussion, and then they might have to move forward on their own in that direction.
But basically, they are free, based upon what has been approved, to break ground and do what we approved.
Well, yes, that's
They're
correct.
not authorized to do what we've discussed tonight. So to me, it's really pretty simple. They can proceed with what has been approved, and then if they want to come in, they can come in. And I think we owe them that right to come in and present their case. It doesn't mean they're going to get what they want, but that's why we're here.
Yes.
So, any further comment? All right, and I appreciate your work on that, and it's a fun time. A
Yeah.
lot going
We're
on.
kind of surprised.
Emily did a great job
She
researching.
did do a good job.
And getting some information for you to react
Yep.
to.
You can tell she's thorough, and I appreciate that. Okay, moving on. Wood Village LLC parking lot site plan update.
This will be simple. So Katie reviewed the site plan that Ms. Daisy Wood brought in for the parking lot behind Winterham. She would like to use that parking lot for kind of her overflow from the Iceplex. And so we looked at it, and per our zoning ordinance, the small things that she's doing are minor adjustments to the already approved site plan for that piece of property. So as long as she turns everything in, Katie reviews it, everything looks good, and everything looks good on the zoning side, that will be something that can be approved administratively. So that's all I have for that one.
Okay, Any questions, comments? All right. Any other business? Well, again, we'll start over here and work our way around.
About
anything?
I'd like to know about the Jefferson Street. Is there any update? Are they doing anything about, it's kind of from here to all the way in railroad track? Kind of
The paving?
What issue
Paving,
are you
paving.
talking
Oh, he's
about?
talking about paving.
paving.
The condition of the road and
Condi-
all the potholes. and
Oh,
all that.
okay. We can contact our
Maintenance guy right here.
maintenance guy and follow up with you.
Yeah. And what about the sidewalk all the way on the Hitchcock Boulevard? Is there any update on that?
That's the county,
The
right?
It sounds like you're mentioning a county, out in the county.
I'm asking any update, county are going to do a sidewalk in there or no?
From Heathcote, from where?
Hitchcock, from bridge to,
That's terrible, isn't it?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Rerouter bikes.
That has to be done really seriously. And lots of people that walk in there
Yeah,
is a
well,
danger.
I was, yes, there were two cars passing and somebody with, walking a stroller.
Mhm.
And I had to stop and just stop and just wait.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't enough room for
Right.
two cars and somebody walking. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it was just very, very dangerous. So we'll follow up with them and see if we can get some updates on their plans. Let's hope it's on the
Anything new about the cross the street?
Yeah, that's my question.
We haven't heard from the property owner since our last updates. I will say there are folks, poking around interested in all, in redeveloping. We've got an interested person across the street, and we've got some other calls that are starting to come in. So we're very excited. Emily and I were just talking about that we actually have 3 restaurants that are interested right now, and we'll see where it goes. But we're just excited by the fact that folks are calling, they're interested, they want to know what's available, they want to know what the process is, and so, for a community the size of Haymarket, that's just incredible. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Let us know if there is anything we can do beside the meeting.
Yeah,
we can
absolutely.
come anytime if we need to do something. We are here all the time. So this is our town, we have to work on it, and we have to make it better, we have to make a walkable town. And property on that 20 acre, I see as on sale sign in there.
Yes, they've put up it's always been available, they just hadn't put a sign up, and now they wanted to put a sign up.
You're talking about the Baileys right here? 'Cause
No, he's talking about the
No.
fairgrounds.
Oh, the fairgrounds, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I thought you were talking about the Baileys right here on Fayette.
So they've always been available, they're just marketing a little bit more now,
Oh, okay.
so.
One time there was 120 townhouses, then a community hotel, or those things are
I
just
think
pushed back.
I think that site is destined to be mixed use. It's 20 acres. So, we amended the zoning to be able to accommodate
Behind my
a
house.
hotel, to accommodate an anchor site, and some other commercial, and possibly some residential kind of backed up by the other residential. So we'll see what comes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm happy to see that across the street is no more industrial machines all out there, so I think it being cleaned up has definitely helped. Was there any feedback on the blight ordinance? I know they were talking about taking down some structures across. Was there any development in that?
Do you want me to? We do have a broker developer that's still interested in the site. They met with us several months ago, and they're still thinking about it. And they met with Emily last week, and what they want to do is they want to have kind of a public information meeting just to kind of share some of their concepts, to see what the community thinks and feels about it. It also includes the properties that are on the site, to get a feel for if there's any interest in some of them coming down and some of them being preserved, possibly moved, that sort of thing, before they submit a formal application. So We've encouraged them that perhaps
Can we invite
kind of
them?
a pre-application meeting before the ARB might be a great place to start. We'll notice it as we always do, and they're welcome to notice it more if they want, to try to bring more of the public to just, give some more input to them as they look into how to make the numbers work, how to make it work for the community. So there's definitely some interest in it, and I think it's smart for them to go in this direction to kind of preliminary get some
That
feedback.
will uplift the town, I think, tremendously.
Little piggyback on that, Emily and I are setting up a date to follow up on some of the outstanding blight things, and see if we can get all that taken care of. And I feel like with this property and hopefully that moving forward, that it'll be a good place, good kickoff point to get the rest of the development in town. So here's to hoping.
A bulldozer would be good, but
Oh, wouldn't
Stop it.
hey, there's some, anyway, moving on.
I really like your thoroughness for giving us the options. That was great to read and get in time. My concern are always communication. I see as we come in, it says text for updates. I'd like it to have emails for updates, and I also have to have a much more interactive, alive webpage, where you don't have to go to a link that you haven't a clue how it, some people, when you're on a webpage that's friendly, you know it. And I think ours could be friendlier.
We're working on it. It's
I'll give you an update on that too, if you'd like.
Okay.
We do have a consultant that has been itching to get our website completed for a while, mostly due to just getting fully staffed is the reason we didn't have a webpage launch by Haymarket Day, but it's bright and colorful and visual and informative, and we had some training last week to teach us how to easily start creating the content and all. So what is helpful to us is if you have any photos of the different times of year and different things that mean Haymarket to you, we would love to have them and start incorporating those into the site as we draft content. And Emily's going to help me draft content specifically for a planning and zoning page so that we have as much information online so folks can go right there and get everything they need before they have to feel like they have to call all the time.
Right.
So right now we don't really have that. That's definitely one of her priorities right now is to start working on that.
And I'm hoping for some nice, easy checklists, something to make it a lot more user-friendly to come
Yes.
through this process. Because starting out, being a month in, it's a little confusing just to see what are the citizens expected to do. So hopefully we can make some good tools, graphics, something to help them out.
Checklist.
And that would encourage
Checklist.
basically citizen activism, more people coming to the meetings, because we have to have more people involved in our town.
younger people. I think I commend you for your efforts tonight, and
you.
obviously what went into it before tonight. I was thrilled when you mentioned the bike rack. We've been saying that for how many years?
I'm going to go
4 years?
get the magazine.
Get that bike rack.
Put a
someplace.
sticky on the location there.
That's what we want. And Haymarket Day was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. A little warm, but maybe the 30,000 people or so that were here, added body temperature, body heat to it. It was just a great day, and the work that was done prior to it was also phenomenal. So congratulations to all those who were involved in that.
Where's the blanket?
It's hanging. I tacked it to the wall.
You tacked it.
If someone tall wants to get it down.
Maybe our deputy mayor would give you a hand there.
Yes,
I want
I
to show,
can
I don't know
go.
if y'all have seen this.
I have, yeah.
I have to tell you, to Miss Murray here, you've hired some great folks lately. Having Debbie on board, having Emily, she just adds so much. Her enthusiasm, her youth, that's a good thing.
Katie, too.
Katie, oh, absolutely, and Katie, and they just compliment you with your hard work and your staff, and absolutely a great job. Emily was showing me this, and I was blown away by this, and I don't know if y'all have seen this or not. But that's our zone, she did this in school, or actually as a project. You explain what you did.
Land use map.
That's our plan use map. man.
I can hold it and you can stand.
I just wanted her to show this because I think it's awesome.
Can you get it on the right camera?
So,
See my house down there.
yeah, so this past fall, I guess a year ago now, I was in a arts and culture class in my master's program at Virginia Tech, and we had to come up with something creative that involved planning but also spoke to the arts. And I'm a member of the local quilt guild here, 2 of them actually, and I realized that I was the youngest and not many people who I was members with, my peers didn't know what zoning was. They didn't understand it. They didn't see the importance of it. And so I really wanted to kind of that quilting community. So I started with kind of coming up with this idea to make this map, to give them something they could look at in their field, something they could relate to. So I ended up doing this quilt map, and then through the process of making it, a lot of my peers helped me. They cut stuff out. We just talked about it at my meetings. And so it really became this process where they learned about zoning and planning, and then I learned the quilting techniques as I was still pretty new to it at that time. So it was a lot of fun. And then when I was working at the quilt shop, it was kind of a conversational piece when people came in. So I got to share more about Haymarket and, what I knew at that point of Haymarket and where everything was headed. So it was a lot of fun, and I feel like it was really informational for a lot of people involved. So.
I just commend you for doing that. The only thing it's missing is a star where I live, a Dallas Cowboys star.
And a bike rack.
But, and the bike rack. But welcome to the team.
Thank you.
And you bring so much to this team, and nothing against Steve or any of the others, but now that we have somebody full-time we know is going to be in here, we can see that smiling face, and you're extremely competent. So, Ms. Murray, great hire, and welcome to the team.
Thank you so much. I look forward to getting to work on so much. Get a lot done.
And I think your quilt's a work of art. I'd love to see it displayed. I know it's probably in your office, but I'd like to see it out here too. Maybe protected. It's beautiful.
Town page.
And it also should be on the town.
Yeah.
Take a nice picture of it, yes.
Maybe we will put in a frame, nice frame, and the wall. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's not a blanket, Steve.
No, it's not. I'm sorry.
But
I'm a
that's
guy,
okay.
okay? I'm a guy.
Are you cold?
I would cover up with that if I... But beautiful
I
job,
have one
and
last
again, welcome.
question.
Thank you.
I see that I have a last question with Kimberly or you. How we can help them food line? Their business looks like a debt. There is I don't see any business in there. Is there anything we can give them incentive that way people can?
Food line.
Yes. I mean, I like to see more people shopping in there. That way it will brings our revenue too and help them as well. If there is any tax incentive, we can give it to them. That way they can reduce the price and more people will come there shopping.
It's really up at the corporate level. Some of the changes that are taking place at the corporate level. So, it may be a matter of talking to the local managers there and maybe getting some phone numbers because there's a lot of changes, at least, out in the valley of some of the food lines being bought out and taken over and things that are happening well above anything that the town can assist them with. But at least we could check in with them and see, is some of that happening? Is there something that we can do as a town to, assist you in your revenues and all?
Yeah.
I don't know that we have any incentives that we can offer them, but we could at least check in and see if there's any problems that we can assist them with. Or if they're in the middle of transition or what.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
If there any of those changes are happening for them down the road, I don't know. But
it will help town to long run. It's business. If we don't want to have that place empty.
Yes.
And nothing coming in. That way, our revenue also go down. So.
And I don't know. I know some of the other food lines in other areas. I don't know if this one is impacted, but we could certainly reach out to them.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one other quick thing, just on the Divergent Diamond. I had a lot of calls before, people complaining about the construction. A couple of them actually called me back and said, traffic moves well. I've talked to the chief, they gave a couple of warning tickets, people making the wrong turns. But from what I've seen, this Divergent Diamond is wonderful. Absolutely works great. I will tell you, there is a landscaping project that's going to be going. It's not going to happen until next spring. But during that time, my guys, we will keep the weeds cut. We cut them for Haymarket days, and as it grows up, I'll send my contractor out there to cut the weeds down to keep that down. But I think that has made a big difference in this town. And once Sheets gets back open, and I can get my gas for my motorcycle there, it'll be even better. So I think this town is rocking with everything that's going on. So.
And I will end this. Enter Sandman, go Hokies. So I knew there was something about you because I had a daughter that went to Tech. So I think it's all positive. I think a lot of good things are going on. And there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be things. And we just have to systematically and methodically have a little foresight and foreseeability into the future. I see that as a big, and I would like us up here to be more forward-thinking and not get caught in the day-to-day weeds and really take a hard look of, what will Haymarket look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. So welcome, and I appreciate all of what you all do, and it's good to meet you. It feels good to meet again. I sent out a text today. I'll add you to the thread, and it's like, we all should wear name tags, so. Any further thing? Does anybody would like to call?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.